All right, Ringers, shall we jump into some rating system and give this album a nice strum on our guitar?
Yeah, so let's get into our overall and final thoughts on this album. We're going to give it a rating too, but not just any rating. This is a music podcast, and we are a couple of guitar players ourselves, so we don't do 5 stars, we don't do 2 thumbs, we don't do 10 out of 10s. We do 6 strings, because a guitar, an electric guitar, a standard electric guitar, and an acoustic guitar has 6 strings. And we can throw in some sharps and some flats, which are like pluses and minuses. So if you don't understand that, give it a Google and then come right back. And we're going to drop this review for you. So I'll say, great sound overall. The mixing, the production, the execution, everything is top notch like you'd come to expect from the Black Keys. Obviously, this is an acquired taste. Like I mentioned at the beginning, these are blues standards. Mm-hmm. They're not hit pop songs. So if you're looking for songs that you're going to know or recognize, you're probably not going to be as high on this album as someone who is a fan of blues music, and especially those 40s, 50s, 60s blues standard songs. I really enjoyed comparing the originals to what they did and to see how they changed them a little bit. In some cases, they changed quite a bit from tempo to intensity. And in other cases, they kind of just left it the same, save for the polishing and the production work. And it's really cool just to hear Dan Auerbach in some of these original artists. So you can hear like where he got a lot of influence from and where it comes from. And Junior Kimbrough definitely being a big one. So if you go back and listen to him and compare it to the Black Keys now, you're going to hear a lot of that influence that Dan Auerbach picked up. For me though, this album probably isn't going to be one that I come back to a lot. I like it, and I'll come back to it when I want some good blues music. But I think if I'm reaching for some Black Keys, I'm probably going to go with something else, if something original, probably. So for my overall rating, I'm actually coming in at a 3, which might seem low for how much I've talked up this album, but I would put a 3 as 3 is average. 6 being a great album, 1 being. I think 3 is an average album, and I think you can almost rate it on a couple different factors. I think musically alone and execution, this could definitely be in that 5 range for sure. But I think when you factor in, is this what I want in this moment? It comes back down a little bit for me. And I think it would actually be fun to hear them cover some blues tunes that are more popular and give them their spin. But I still think this is a very good album, even if you're taken aback maybe by the 3 that I gave it.
No, I think that's a very fair assessment, 100%. Because you said it's got to fit like in the right alley, and I would say for me, this one, it fits right in my alley. This is the type of blues that I enjoy. I love finding new trinkets, trying to find that, something new to kind of get into. And Junior Kimbrough, I've heard of before, mainly because of the Black Keys and Chaloma album that they released back in 2006. So, kind of weird to go back down that same alleyway, but I like the aspect that it's 20 years later that they're kind of doing comparisons of like covers compared to what they did before. So, I definitely want to say that, with this being a cover album, it did throw off my rating. Like I had no clue how to really put it for it. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not holding the Keys to any other standard than how do these feel in the context of blues and general, liveliness to the album. So also, this is their roots, so I kind of want to see how well they evolved from the early days to today, 20 years in the making. So, to me, this album has a little bit of a Rubber Factory meets Let's Rock, so a little controlled rawness meets like a good tight production and experience. Chaloma is like the great comparison that you can hold off, and it's just a shorter context of what this is. So this is elongated. This is more of what I like. So I like the jam feel to this record as if, it's almost live, and it basically is a live album. So they really longer with the songs, and it does tend to play more to that jam feel, and I really enjoy that aspect. Mm-hmm. The mixes and production are very well done. They're very similar throughout, so they didn't really change too much because, well, what the hell? There's just blues albums, and we know what we're producing in the studio just in itself. Yeah. But, there are good points where the instruments are laid back and kind of fresh, and then the drums can get lost a little bit, mixed with a little bit of touch, but I think they're just blended well with the different head hits and the cymbal hits that they really do show, and it's just more or less a comment on the great playing by Patrick, and able to get his drumming through, and him artistically playing them through. So pretty much an album. I don't know if you would agree with this, Ringer, but it's pretty much an album of what you hear is what you get almost with this. This is kind of that blues. Okay, yep, blues. Okay, it might have some other different touches, but it really doesn't go above and beyond anything other than being more blues and giving you just a different look and a different feel to them. So for me, I kind of gave this one a 4 flat string strum. I kind of went up just a little bit from the 3 sharp, so I wasn't that far behind you in this, but it was one of those things where I think you said something like, is this what I'm looking for like right now? For me, I kind of was looking for something like this. I didn't realize it until I heard it, but I think this one is just slightly above average for me, and I think this one held up pretty well, but 4 flat is, I think, the top I can go with it, and it definitely, in the passive listening phase, probably is in like the 5 flat range for me, but when you get under a microscope, yeah, it's a 4 flat.
Sure. Well said. Well said. And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. And once again, just some big announcements for you. We're going to be changing up the show a little bit at the end of this summer. Come August, we're going to be switching to every other week, but we'll also be launching our Patreon with some additional exclusive content for you there, and unveiling our new website as well. So stay tuned for that. If you want more of us in the meantime, we're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram and on YouTube as well, all at On The Record Music. So you can join us there for some discussion and get involved a little bit more. But other than that, I think that's all I got for this week.